I've got 108 potatoes here. It's May the 9th. They should have been planted probably about 8 weeks ago, but today's the day that they're getting in the ground. If you're wondering why I'm planting these potatoes so late in the season, there's really only one reason for it, or there's actually two. Firstly, the weather has been so up and down. Getting out here and being able to film for one is just been a no-go most of the time. But I plan to grow my potatoes along this 6-metre bed next to my polytunnel. I'd started making this bed back in autumn, but then as we were clearing this area here and the area behind, we kind of realised that we could probably get another couple of rows of potatoes in here, and then I didn't want to start planting anything until we'd finished it and I'd showed it to you really. So we've got 108 potatoes here. We've got 2 lots of first early potatoes. And first early potatoes for me are usually, I start some in maybe buckets in the greenhouse or polytunnel in late Feb. And then the main ones outside maybe kind of go out in early April. And then the main crops slightly later after that. But yeah, we're in May now, and if you look closely at these potatoes, some of them have got potatoes growing on potatoes, but they are going to be absolutely fine. We're going to get them in the ground today, and hopefully in 10-12 weeks we'll be harvesting the first lot of potatoes. We've got 3 varieties of potatoes that we're going to be planting today. So the first one here is the second earlies called Vila. They are probably one of my most favourite potatoes to grow. I've got 2 bags of them here, which I accidentally bought 2 bags, but I was quite pleased about really, because they will definitely grow really nicely here against the polytunnel, and having a double the amount of harvest will be great because they're a favourite in our family. I've done quite a lot of videos on harvesting these actually, so I'll put one above in the cards now, and I'll also put a load of videos down in the description as well if you're interested, because I don't know what it is with potatoes, they are one of my favourite things to grow, and I know we all love a good potato harvest video. So yeah, they are the Vilas. They're going to be going against the polytunnel here, and they will be going the closest because they're going to take the longest to grow and harvest. So then the first earlies will go down at the front. So the next variety I've got, which is here, these are called Rocket. They're a first early that again I have grown quite a lot. They've been grown down at my allotment and done really well in the ground, but they also do really well in the bed just outside my polytunnel. It's really shady there, but they just seem to do so well. So although I have grown them in that bed before in the past, over the year I spent a long time mulching that bed with seaweed, compost and lots of other things. So I think it will have enough nutrition in there, kind of replenished, that they will grow really nicely. And then the third and final variety I've got here is called Swift. They are meant to be a really quick growing first early potato that you can harvest really quickly. I've never grown them before, and this is the one that has lots of potatoes growing from it already. The one slightly annoying thing about this new bed is that when I started creating it last year, I only thought it was going to come out about 1 metre. So that was where I kind of really focused on building the soil. So we put cardboard down, grass clippings, hedge trimmings, other organic matter. I think it's had some grass clippings this season as well. But then when we obviously did decide to bring it down to here, all of this soil here is really clayey and claggy. And I mean, I don't know if you can hear here, but already where I've made this little walkway, you can see how much rain we've had, and it's really, really sticky soil. So when we plant them in here today, it will be interesting to see how they do in the different soils, but hopefully I'm not actually going to compact that newly kind of turned over soil too much, because if I do, I think it's just going to, yeah, not be the best place to grow them. But all we can do is try, and over this growing season now, I will keep mulching these potatoes with more organic materials, and by kind of this time next year, we will have a really lovely area, and hopefully this kind of clayey, kind of claggy soil will be much better to grow in. I've had an idea. I've got some old featherboard here that was left over from when we built our shed. So I can place this down and then stand on top of this, and hopefully I'm not going to compact that clayey soil too much. All I'm going to do now is just put the potatoes out on top of the soil in a row so I can work out the spacing, and then once I've done that, I will individually plant each one. having a board here might also help me get these potatoes in a straight line, because I'm not very good at planting anything in a straight line unless I've got a lovely straight line or string to go against. I think I'm probably going to end up with 2 rows of these, because we're almost at the end. Well, we're 2/3 along the first row and I've still got so many potatoes left over. You might be thinking that I'm actually planting these rows so close together, but I always plant my potatoes like this, especially in raised beds and out in the ground. You know, you might get less yield per potato, but I think it's such a better use of space when you cram them in close together. There's probably quite a few of you watching this though that is going to be telling me that potatoes are really heavy feeders and being so close together is going to cause them to be smaller. But this is actually the first time this bed has ever been used. Before it was just grass, lots of weeds growing and things like that. So it's going to be full of so much nutrition anyway. And again, it's been mulched throughout the year. So I think we're going to be okay. I've done 2 rows now and you can see I've got quite a few left over, but I think rather than putting another row of these in, I'm going to put these somewhere else in the garden. I'm then going to put 2 rows of the other potatoes here. So just to remind you, these are the rockets. These are the potatoes that I grew in here last year and did brilliantly in this slightly shady area. Now, the compost here, I'm so proud of this. This raised bed is full of the most beautiful compost ever, and this hasn't cost me any money whatsoever. I filled it up last year with grass clippings, hedge trimmings. You can see, you know, it's quite sticky with the remainder of those hedge trimmings. Also seaweed. I think seaweed was the last thing that went on here. Over the summer, every time I mowed the lawn, I chucked some on here, and this compost is absolutely amazing. It's going to be so nutritious and amazing. Everything's going to grow really nicely in here, and that is why I know that the potatoes are going to do well in here again. So I think I'm going to do 4 in a row, maybe 4 by 4. And I'm going to have some left over again, aren't I? So I'm going to be putting those somewhere else, I think, in the garden. You must tell me what varieties of potatoes you were growing this year, and have you got them all in the ground? I'm not growing any main crop, I don't think, this year, because I just prefer the first and second earlies. There we go. I'm going to leave those for a little while, get those swifts out, and I've got 6 left over. I think I'll leave a board here in between both varieties, just because they're going to be harvested at different times. So if they're quite close together, maybe we're going to be disturbing the roots of the ones that still need to stay in when we harvest the others. I am really hoping that these potatoes do well in this bed. Down at the allotment, sometimes if we had really wet summers, my potatoes really struggle to grow in the ground. And I know there is enough light for them to grow here, but I just really hope that if we have a wet summer, that they just don't get nibbled by slugs. But also, I am hoping that this new area is going to be really good for growing my garlic in or onions over winter. Hopefully, if the weather stays dry for the rest of the week, I'm going to get the wood chipper out and actually get a load of wood chipped so I can make a pathway along here, because having all of this sludgy mud isn't that great. So now all of the potatoes are in place, I'm just going to plant them, and they're just going to be planted as I usually do with my potatoes, and that is a trowel deep. This soil is so hard to work with. It's really heavy and just so claggy, but because this is woodland, there's quite a lot of tree roots and things in the ground. So when you're trying to kind of dig down, you're getting stuck. But it is definitely, well, it's going to be very interesting to see how these potatoes grow here this year. But it just goes to show that I'm going to have to do lots of mulching on this bed to improve the soil, but also to kind of earth them up, because in some places I've only got them kind of half a trowel deep or so. All those potatoes are now in, but I didn't actually plant 108. I've got 31 left over, which, if I do my maths really quickly, I'm not good at maths, is 77 in the ground. So 31 still to go. If my maths is wrong, put it down below. But you know, I definitely am going to have to do quite a lot of mulching and earthing up with these potatoes, especially the Swift down at the front, because the soil is just terrible. And my feet, honestly, are just completely kind of saturated and covered in mud. But yeah, I've still got 31 potatoes to go in. I'm not exactly sure where they're going to go. I think I might have a little think over the next couple of days where the remainder can go in, because I'm really unsure how well they're going to do here. So I would really like to be able to get, you know, some harvest this year at least. So I might put them in pots or something like that, not 100% sure. If you've got any ideas though, let me know. I am thinking out loud now, but possibly I can try a few other places in the woodland that gets you know, quite a lot of sun that doesn't have any beds in. So maybe I'll put them in buckets, but in that area, and I can kind of test that area this year to see how they grow. And if they do well, I can then make a proper bed there. But anyway, there you go. That is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching today. If this is the first time you're watching one of my videos, please do hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to be notified of all of my latest videos. As I mentioned earlier in the videos, I have planted most of these potatoes before, and I've done loads of videos about them, so I'll put some of those videos here now, but I'll also put them down below in the description, so please go ahead and watch those, and I'll catch up with you in the next episode. Bye.